Hi T1, how are you guys? All right, I'm going to read the next chapter in Ramona. It's a little bit of a longer one, so I don't know if I'm going to read it all, but we will. It's called Chapter 4, The Substitute. All right. Before long, Mrs. Quimby and Mrs. Kemp decided the time had come for Ramona and Howie to walk to school by themselves. Mrs. Kemp, pushing Wilma Jean in her stroller, walked Howie to the Quimby's house where Ramona's mother invited her in for a cup of coffee. "You better put all your stuff away," Howie advised Ramona, as his mother lifted his little sister out of the stroller. "Wilma Jean crawls around and chews on everything," Howie said. Grateful for this advice, Ramona closed the door of her room. "Now, Howie, be sure to look both ways before you cross the street," cautioned his mother. "You too, Ramona," said Mrs. Quimby. "And be sure you walk on the sidewalk. Don't go running in the street. And cross between the white lines," said Mrs. Kemp. "And wait for the traffic boy near the school," said Mrs. Quimby. "And don't talk to strangers," said Mrs. Kemp. Ramona and Howie, weighed down by the responsibility of walking themselves to school, trudged off down the street. Howie was even gloomier than usual because he was the only boy in the morning kindergarten who wore jeans with one hip pocket. All the other boys had 2 hip pockets. "That's silly," said Ramona, still inclined to be impatient with Howie. If Howie did not like his jeans, why didn't he just make a big noisy fuss about them? "No, it isn't," contradicted Howie. "Jeans with one hip pocket are babyish." At the crosswalk, Ramona and Howie stopped and looked both ways. They saw a car coming a block away, so they waited and waited and waited. When the car finally passed, they saw another car coming a block away in the opposite direction. They waited some more. At last, the coast was clear, and they walked stiff-legged in their haste across the street. "Phew," said Howie when they arrived on the other side of the streets safely. The next intersection was easier because Henry Huggins, in his red traffic sweater and yellow cap, was the traffic boy on duty. I don't know if you guys know Mr. Arlo. He's in front of our school and he stops traffic to let kids go by. That's kind of what this boy Henry Huggins does. Ramona was not awed by Henry, even though he often got a hold up the cement and lumber trucks delivering materials for the market that was being built across from the school. She had known Henry and his dog Ribsy as long as she could remember, and she admired Henry because not only was he a traffic boy, but he also delivered newspapers. Now, Ramona looked at Henry, who was standing with his feet apart and his hands closed behind his back. Ribsy was sitting beside him as if he was watching the traffic too. Just to see what Henry would do, Ramona stepped off the edge of the curb. "You get back on that curb, Ramona," Henry ordered above the noise of the construction on the corner. Ramona set one foot back on the curb. "All the way, Ramona." Ramona stood with both heels on the curb, her toes hanging over the gutter. Henry could not say she was not standing on the curb, so he merely glared at her. When several boys and girls were waiting to cross the street, Henry marched across with Ribsy prancing along beside him. "Beat it, Ribsy," said Henry between his teeth. Ribsy paid no attention. Directly in front of Ramona, Henry executed a sharp, about-face turn like a soldier. Ramona marched behind Henry, stepping as close to his sneakers as she could, and the other children laughed. On the opposite curb, Henry tried to execute another military about-face, but instead he tripped over Ramona. "Doggone you, Ramona," he said angrily. "If you don't cut that out, I'm going to report you." "Nobody reports kindergarteners," scoffed another boy. "Well, I'll report Ramona if she doesn't cut it out," said Henry. Obviously, Henry felt it was bad luck that he had to guard an intersection when Ramona came. Between crossing the street without a grown-up and getting so much attention from Henry, Ramona felt that her day was off to a great start. However, as she and Howie approached the kindergarten building, she saw at once that something was wrong. The door to kindergarten was already open. No one was playing on the jungle gym. No one was running around the playground. No one was even in line waiting by the door. Instead, the boys and girls were huddled in groups like frightened mice. They all looked worried, and once in a while, someone who appeared to be acting brave would run to the open door, peer inside, and run back to the group to report something. "What's the matter?" asked Ramona. "Miss Benny isn't there," whispered Susan. "It's a different lady." "A substitute," said Eric R. "Miss Benny not there?" Susan must be wrong. Miss Benny had to be there. Kindergarten would not be kindergarten without Miss Benny. Ramona ran to the door to see for herself. Susan was right. Miss Benny was not there. The woman who was busy at Miss Benny's desk was taller and older. She was as old as a mother. Her dress was brown and her shoes were sensible. Ramona did not like what she saw at all, so she ran back to the cluster of boys and girls. "What are we going to do?" she asked, feeling as if she had been deserted by Miss Benny. For her teacher to go home and not come back to school was just not right. "I think I'll go home," said Susan. Ramona thought this idea was babyish of Susan. She had seen what happened to boys and girls who ran home from kindergarten. Their mothers marched them straight back again. That's what happened. Nope, going home would not do. "I bet the substitute won't even know the rules of kindergarten," said Howie. The children agreed. Miss Benny said following the rules of kindergarten was important. How could the stranger know what the rules were? A stranger would not even know the names of the boys and girls. She might even get them mixed up. Still feeling that Miss Benny was disloyal to stay away from school, Ramona made up her mind that she was not going to kindergarten room with a strange teacher. Nobody could make her go in there. But where could she go? She could not go home because her mother would just march her right back. She could not go into the main building of Glenwood School because anyone would know a girl her size belonged out in kindergarten. She had to hide. But where? When the first bell rang, Ramona knew she didn't have much time. There was no place to hide on the kindergarten playground. So she slipped around behind the building and joined the boys and girls who were walking into the red brick building. "Kindergarten baby!" A first grader shouted at Ramona. "Pie face!" answered Ramona with spirit. She could only see two places to hide, behind the bicycle rack or behind a row of trash cans. Ramona chose the trash cans. As the last children entered the building, she got down on her hands and knees and crawled in between the space between the cans and the red brick wall. The second bell rang. "Hup, 2, 3, 4, hup, 2, 3, 4. The traffic boys were marching back from their post at the intersection near the school. Ramona crouched motionless on the asphalt. "Hup, 2, 3, 4. The traffic boys, heads up, eyes front, marched past the trash cans and into the building. The playground was quiet, and Ramona was alone. You can see her sitting there. Henry's dog, Ribsy, Henry's dog, Ribsy, who had followed the traffic boys as far as the door of the school, came trotting over to check the trash cans. He put his nose down to the ground and whiffed around the cans while Ramona crouched motionless with the rough asphalt digging into her knees. Ribsy's busy nose led him around to the can, face to face with Ramona. "Ruff," said Ribsy. "Ribsy, go away," ordered Ramona in a whisper. "Ruff." Ribsy knew Ramona was not supposed to be behind the trash cans. "You be quiet," Ramona whispered as ferociously as she could make it. Over in the kindergarten, the class began to sing the song about the Donzer. At least the strange woman knew that much about kindergarten. After the Donzer song, the kindergarten room was quiet. Ramona wondered if the teacher knew that show and tell was supposed to come next. She strained her ears, but she could not hear any activity in the little building. The space between the brick wall and the trash cans began to feel as cold as a refrigerator to Ramona in her thin sweater. The asphalt dug into her knees, so she sat down with her feet straight out towards Ribsy's nose. The minutes dragged by. Except for Ribsy, Ramona was lonely. She leaned against the chilled red bricks and felt sorry for herself. Poor little Ramona, all alone except for Ribsy, behind the trash cans. Miss Binny would be sorry if she knew what she had made Ramona do. She would be sorry if she knew how cold and lonely Ramona was. Ramona felt so sorry for the poor, shivering little child behind the trash can that one little tear fell and then another slid down her cheeks. She sniffed pitifully. Ribsy opened one eye and looked at her before he closed it again. Not even Henry's dog cared what happened to Ramona. After a while, Ramona heard the kindergarten running and laughing outside. How disloyal everyone was to have so much fun when Miss Binny had deserted them. Ramona wondered if the kindergarten missed her, and if anyone else would chase Davy and try to kiss him. Then Ramona must have fallen asleep, because the next thing she knew, recess time had come and the playground was swarming and shouting with yelling, ball throwing, and all the older boys and girls. Ribsy was gone. Stiff with the cold, Ramona hunched down as low as she could. A ball bounced and banged against the trash can. Ramona shut her eyes and hoped that nobody would see her if she did that. Footsteps came running toward the ball. "Hey!" exclaimed a boy's voice. "There's a little kid hiding back here." Ramona's eyes flew open. "Go away," she said fiercely to the strange boy who was peering over the trash cans. "What are you hiding back there for?" asked the boy. "Go away," ordered Ramona. "Hey, Huggins," yelled the boy. "There's a little kid back here who lives on your street." In a moment, Henry Huggins was peering over the trash cans at Ramona. "What are you doing there?" he demanded. "You're supposed to be in kindergarten." "Mind your own business," said Ramona. Naturally, when two boys peer behind a trash can, practically the whole school is going to join them to see what's so interesting. "What's she doing?" people ask. "Why is she hiding? Does her teacher know she's back there?" In the midst of all the excitement, Ramona began to feel discomfort. "Go find her sister," someone said. "Get Beatrice. She'll know what to do." No one had to find Beezus. She was already there. "Ramona Geraldine Quimby," she said, "you come out here this minute." "I won't," said Ramona, even though she knew she could not stay there much longer. "Ramona, you just wait until Mother hears about this," stormed Beezus. "You're really gonna get it." Ramona knew that Beezus was right, but catching it from her mom was not what was worrying her at the moment. "Here comes the yard teacher," someone yelled. Ramona had to admit defeat. She got onto her hands and knees and then her feet and faced the crowd across the trash can lids as the yard teacher came to investigate the commotion. "Don't you belong in kindergarten?" the yard teacher asked. "I'm not going to kindergarten," said Ramona stubbornly, and she cast an anguished glance at Beezus. "She's supposed to be in kindergarten," said Beezus, "but she needs to go to the bathroom." The older boys and girls thought this remark was funny, which made Ramona so angry she wanted to cry. There was nothing funny about it at all, and she didn't hurry. The yard duty turned to Beezus. "Please take her to the bathroom and then the principal's office. She'll find Take her to the principal's office and she'll find out what the trouble is." The first words were a relief to Ramona, but the second was a shock. No one in the morning kindergarten had ever been sent to Miss Mullen's office in the big building, except maybe to deliver a note from Miss Binny. And then the children went in pairs because the errand was such a scary one. "What will the principal do to me?" Ramona asked as Beezus led her to the girls' bathroom in the big building. "I don't know," said Beezus. "Talk to you, I guess. Maybe call Mom." "Ramona, why did you have to go and do a dumb thing like hiding behind the trash cans?" "Because," Ramona was cross. since Beezus was so cross. We'll go ahead and finish. When the girls came out of the bathroom, Ramona reluctantly allowed herself to be led to the principal's office, where she felt small and frightened, even though she tried not to show it. "This is my little sister Ramona," Beezus explained to Miss Mullen's secretary in the office. "She belongs in kindergarten, but she's been hiding behind the trash cans." Miss Mullen must have overheard, because she came out of her office. Frightened as she was, Ramona braced herself to say, "I won't go back to kindergarten." "Well, hello, Ramona," said Miss Mullen. "That's all right, Beatrice. You may go back to class. I'll take care of her." Ramona wanted to stay close to her sister, but Beezus walked out of the office, leaving her alone with the principal, the most important person in the whole school. Ramona felt small and pitiful, with her knees all marked up where the asphalt had gouged her. Miss Mullen smiled, as if Ramona's behavior was of no particular importance, and said, "It's too bad Miss Binny had to stay home with a sore throat, huh? I know what a surprise that must have been for you to find a strange teacher in your kindergarten classroom this morning." Ramona wondered how Miss Mullen knew so much. The principal didn't even bother to ask Ramona why she was hiding behind the trash cans. She did not feel the least bit sorry for this poor little girl with scraped knees. She simply took Ramona by the hand and said, "I'm going to introduce you to Miss Wilcox. I know you're going to like her." And they just walked out the door. Ramona felt a little indignant, because Miss Mullen did not demand to know why she had been hiding there this whole time. Miss Mullen did not even notice how forlorn and tear-stained Ramona's face was. Ramona had been so cold and lonely and miserable that she thought Miss Mullen should have shown some interest. She had half expected the principal to say, "Why, you poor little thing, why were you hiding behind the trash cans?" But she didn't. The looks on the faces of the morning kindergarten when Ramona walked into the room with the principal made up for Miss Mullen's lack of concern. Round eyes, open mouths, faces with a blank surprise. Ramona was delighted to see her whole class staring at her from her seats. They were worried about her. They cared what had happened to her. "Ramona, this is Miss Binny's substitute, Mrs. Wilcox," said Miss Mullen to the substitute. "Ramona is just running a little late this morning. That was all. That was all. Not a word about how cold and miserable Ramona had been. Not a word how she'd been hiding behind trash cans." "I'm very glad you're here, Ramona," said Miss Wilcox, as the principal laughed. "The class is drawing with crayons. Would you like to draw with us?" Here it was seat work time, and Miss Wilcox was not even having the class do real seat work, but was letting them draw pictures as if it was their first day of kindergarten. Ramona was most disapproving. Things were not supposed to be this way. Howie scrubbing away with a blue crayon to make a sky across the top of his paper, and at Davy, who was drawing a man whose arms seemed to be coming out of his ears. They were busy and happy drawing whatever they wanted. "I would like to make cues," said Ramona, on sudden inspiration. "Make use of what you want," said Miss Wilcox, holding out a sheet of paper. Ramona had been sure all along that the substitute could not be as smart as Miss Binny, but at least she expected her to know what the letter Q was. All grown-ups should know the letter Q. At last Ramona was free to draw her Q her own way. Forgetting the loneliness and discomfort of the morning, she drew the most satisfying row of Q's, Ramona style, and decided that having a substitute teacher was not so bad after all. Miss Wilcox wandered up and down the aisles looking at the pictures. "Why, Ramona," she said, pausing at Ramona's desk, "what charming little cats you've drawn. Do you have kittens at home?" Ramona felt sorry for Mrs. Wilcox, a grown-up lady teacher who did not know Q. "No," she answered. "Our cat is a boy cat." You guys want to see her Q's? All right, we're going to stop there. The next chapter is called Ramona's Engagement Ring. All right, you guys. Until next time, have fun and keep having fun with your families.